Our solar system is a dysfunctional family held together by the sun's gravity, tears, and popsicle sticks. After dozens of hours of research and fact-checking, I present to you an entertaining video where I trick you into learning over 300 facts, because I haven't touched grass in a very long time, let alone a woman. Okay, zealots, fasten your seatbelts, board your spacecraft, and prepare to be launched into the best video you'll ever see in your entire life.
I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The first step of our detailed journey is the sun. First off, the sun would appear white if you were actually in space, and you might have seen pictures of it from space that might show a yellowish orange, but that's because of filters. I've actually applied a filter to the sun in Photoshop, and so that way you can see what it would actually look like. It's not a ball of fire like you might be thinking, but instead made out of plasma, the fourth state of matter that nerd Chesman thought he'd bring up to epically own the underpaid science teacher for his own ego. There's actually 7 states of matter, not 4, but who gives a shit when you're just trying to survive Monday, am I right, fellas? Taking a look at the base stats, it's quite impressive. 109 times the diameter of Earth and 330,000 times as massive. This is actually quite pathetic by star standards. I'll probably be mispronouncing these stars, along with many of the other things in this video, and I apologize for that. But this is our star compared to Sirius A star. Sirius A star compared to R136A1. R136A1 compared to Gargux. Gargux compared to Pistol Star. Pistol Star compared to Rosa Conifae. And Rosa Conifae compared to Stefan 218. Our entire existence is due to a star that's effectively a participation trophy. That being said, our star will die, turning into a red giant 5 billion years out from now, and potentially swallowing the Earth whole. At this point, it might expand up to 256 times its current size, but be far less dense, so relax about saving up for your mortgage. The sun is going to foreclose on us anyways. On the bright side, provided that advanced civilizations in the solar system still exist, which I think is likely, whatever modern humans evolve into, some kind of AI or alien colonizers, they could theoretically prolong the sun's life by billions of years using large magnets at the sun's poles, sucking up solar materials like a vacuum cleaner. Considering 99.8% of the sun's mass is located within the sun, it'd be a lucrative venture. The problem is that if we wanted to extend it by trillions of years, we'd have to extract the helium at the core, and that's not exactly something we know how to extract just yet, but we've got billions of years to procrastinate. Turns out the sun is a bit planetish too, featuring solar cycles every 11 years and a small tilt of 7.25 degrees. And much like the weather of other planets in the solar system, the sun has weather too, though they make Earth's hurricanes look like a children's toy. Solar storms, flares, and coronal mass ejections. It's a temporal diva. It even has geography, kind of. Sunspots, dark, colorful blemishes from magnetic tantrums, huge plasma loops, basically the sun flexing its vape tricks. Coronal holes are regions of the sun's corona that emit low levels of ultraviolet and X-ray radiation compared to their surroundings. If you wanted to go there, you'd be toast before you got a tan. The heat and radiation would turn you into a human candle, and as you fell, the pressure and temperature would vape you into plasma faster than you can say, "Bad idea. Your atom's just another ingredient in the sun's stew." There's no surface to land on, but if you somehow managed to park your ass on the photosphere, you'd incinerate quicker than a marshmallow in a microwave. Oh, and the sun's gravity is 28 times that of Earth's, so even if you were fireproof, you'd be squashed flatter than your hopes and dreams after graduating with your philosophy degree. Overall, not a place I'd like to visit, only admire for what it does for us here on Earth. That being said, it could send a solar flare towards our planet at any minute, knocking out our power grids. So if you haven't got all your IRL affairs in order, go ahead and do that after this video is done. Our first chapter brings us to the first 4 inner planets of the solar system called terrestrial, or rocky planets, with solid surfaces composed mostly of silicates and metals. They differ greatly compared to gas and ice giants that we'll see in the later chapters. The first planet from the sun is the dumpster fire called Mercury. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone whose favorite planet is Mercury. I think of him as having a pathetic soy boy personality. I have amazing things to say about every other planet in the solar system, but this one is not it. Despite being smaller than 2 moons, Mercury tries to flex by being dense as fuck, second only to Earth, but second place is first place for a loser. He has a ridiculously huge iron nickel core, 60% of his mass, making him the planetary equivalent of skipping leg day and being stuck with a pathetic mantle. His magnetic field is worse than your motivation, just 1% of Earth's. Scientists think he once got wrecked by an impact. eating his outer layers into space, leaving behind a cheap metallic husk rich in metals. His main use is probably being torn apart in the far future to build something actually useful like a Dyson sphere. There's a not widely accepted hypothesis that Mercury is actually what's left of Theia. Theia was a Mars-sized planet that smashed into Earth, creating the moon. A fun idea, but there's no significant evidence to suggest that Mercury is the remains of Theia. If true, though, this would mean the most interesting fact about him is that he submitted to another planet, giving her a moon way cooler than him, all to be a shriveled up husk. That isn't a flex, but he'd finally feel noticed. Atmosphere? Huh, nah. He's got an exosphere, thinner than an anti-vaxxer's arguments, made of sodium, potassium, and helium atoms knocked loose by solar winds and micrometeoroids. Mercury alternates between being too hot during the days at 430 degrees and entirely giving up at negative 180 degrees at night due to no atmosphere. No atmosphere, no weather, no moons, no bitches, just a perpetual disappointment. Craters galore, notably Caloris Basin, 1,550 kilometers wide, so massive it cracked Mercury's ass, leaving behind chaotic terrain. That impact also raised a 2-kilometer high mountain to assert dominance. Intercrater plains, smooth lava flows, scars like rupees, cliffs 1 to 2 kilometers high from planetary shrinkage because he's literally a deflating balloon, and bright hollows formed by sublimating volatiles. To round out this sad landscape, polar ice exists purely as irony at negative 150 degrees. His orbit is a chaotic mess, 88 Earth days per lap around the sun with an extreme eccentricity, 0.206, swinging between 46 and 70 million kilometers from the sun, because he's too weak to stand up for himself. His day is 58.6 Earth days, trying to be cool like Venus with a day that's longer than a year, yet failing to do so. Habitability might be on the table, but it's nothing much. Radiation, heat, and pressure would shred you faster than a Modern Warfare 2 lobby. Poles are cold traps for comet scraps, not life. Underground it might be stable, and if any life is found there, he'd finally earn his first W. Billions of years from now, based on some computer simulations, while sadly the chances are quite low at 1 to 2%, and would happen in the far future, he might crash into the sun or Venus, or get yeeted out of the system for good. Maybe Venus could get a moon, like what happened to Earth, and be useful for once. He's the hardest planet to visit in the solar system, at least in terms of slowing down for orbital insertion because of the sun's gravity. We've only visited him twice, and what we found was less interesting than some of the moons, dwarf planets, or even asteroids in the solar system, but we might go back for some trolling pretty soon with a joint mission between the Japanese and Europeans. Perhaps with more data he could glow up, but for now he's a shriveled up iron husk, a cautionary tale of what happens when you park too close to the big boss. Stay away unless you're into black skies and bad vibes. His weapon of choice is probably a pool noodle from Temu. With that finally over, we get to the actually interesting places, Venus being my favorite other than Earth, with a sassy personality. My favorite dream was also on this planet, ziplining my way through a cloud city in the Venetian clouds. She orbits the sun taking around 225 Earth days. She also spins in retrograde, meaning backwards relative to her orbit, or clockwise. And she's one of only 2 planets in the solar system to do this, and she doesn't give a fuck what everybody else has to say. Her day is 243 Earth days long, meaning that it takes longer than a year, and still, she doesn't give a fuck. On her surface, the sun would rise in the west and set in the east, extremely slowly, but with style. Her axial tilt is 177 degrees, or effectively 3 degrees if you're considering retrograde as upside down, so nearly upright relative to her orbit, meaning no seasons to speak of. But when you're the hottest planet on the block, seasons aren't really much of a concern for cool factor. There's no moons or rings. Normally I'd dock points for that, but she works just as well solo. In all her other base stats, she's very similar to Earth, often being referred to as Earth's twin, but she's definitely not that. Prior to the Soviet Union, who won the space race, by the way. She was shrouded in mystery since her surface is hidden by the clouds. Early science fiction imagined swamps or tropical jungles under the clouds, but removing the clouds you find something much, much worse. First attempts were flops, but eventually Venera 4 was able to transmit data about the atmosphere, with the Americans finding more data shortly after, and it was not skibbity. The first soft landing on another planet was done in 1970, marking yet another Soviet Union W. It was confirmed to the extent of just how hellish the surface is. The landers that the Soviet Union were able to land lasted between 30 and 127 minutes, or at least that's how long they were able to transmit data for. Modern tech could probably survive much longer on the surface of Venus, and we should really send some over, but what we know is that the surface environment is akin to a high-pressure cooker, full of corrosive fumes, provided you didn't die because of the heat cooking your flesh in seconds, suffocating from the lack of oxygen, pressure crushing you into all directions, and acid rain melting what's left of what used to be you. You'd survive to see a dim, yellowish lit landscape, as if it was dusk due to the light scattering from the clouds. The thick atmosphere would distort distant views as sort of a hazy horizon, and carry sound very effectively. Your footsteps, even very light, would sound like massive stomps. The heat is overwhelming at 465 degrees Celsius, though my sources varied slightly, far hotter than most kitchen ovens by a long shot, and any water would instantly boil. Any metal objects would become extremely hot, and your lucky block of lead would melt into a puddle. Because of the dense atmosphere, falling feels very different. A human would reach terminal velocity much lower than Earth, so you might float down like a feather despite the high gravity, and anyone falling from the top would be just fine if they had a decently athletic body. The sky obscured by the perpetual cloud, you wouldn't see the sun or stars from the surface, just a uniform yellowish glow. Navigating without the sunlight or stars would be very tricky, and you might not even be sure what time of day it is. Because the air is so dense, even a slight breeze would be extremely not sigma. A combination of pressure and gases would mean your voice would also sound much deeper as well. Up at 55 kilometers in altitude, you'll find a substantial improvement. Humans could theoretically chill here in balloon habitats like my dream city. But, nah! The clouds have acid. Water, while there is some, is scarcer than the driest deserts on Earth. Small manned missions could happen with current tech in a blimp with proper protection and effective water recycling. I'd love to see what we find. Still, the closest Earth vibes you'll find off-world, minus the constant threat of being corroded alive. It's possible there might already be cloud-based life there. Venus might have had oceans for billions of years until a greenhouse gas hell ruined everything 700 million years ago. Life could have existed, and might still lurk in the clouds today, some extreme Hunger Games level shit. The surface geology is way cooler than ultra-lame Mercury. Radar mapping from the Magellan orbiter shows a dynamic surface with rolling plains, some highlands, volcanoes, and monstrous craters that weren't fully enough to scar the planet. Standouts include the, and again I'm terrible at pronunciation, Mount Mons, 8 kilometers tall, and a strange coronae magma-driven circular bulges. Terra being the size of Australia, and a prostrate Terra being even larger than the size of Africa, are the big highland continents. A few craters are some of the most interesting, since small meteorites would vaporize instantly. Only about 1,000 craters exist, so it's likely the entire surface got a makeover around 600 to 800 million years ago. No active plate tectonics here, just a stagnant crust, yet volcanoes still pop off occasionally, so she still keeps things interesting. Her weapon of choice is probably a transgender Bud Light Molotov cocktail. Likely familiar with Earth, despite her complex yet caring personality. I'll keep this brief. Her baseline stats are impressive, but what truly sets her apart are the details, and by that I mean the biosphere, the real standout star, though sometimes the results are not so sexy. While life might not be exclusive to Terra, life reshaped herself in ways that other places have not, oxygenating the air we breathe, while also gifting us limestone from dead sea critters and coal from dead plants long ago. Spans heat-loving microbes around hydrothermal vents and airborne bacteria confirmed in the atmosphere. Take notes, Venus. And those poor bastards in the rainforest dodging chainsaws. Life's a messy tenant. It spruces up the joint then trashes it with style. She's also known as the Blue Planet, because perhaps more distinctive than the biosphere is the sheer amount of liquid water on the surface, basically a giant wet t-shirt contest. The Pacific Ocean is the real overachiever here, that could gobble up every other landmass and still have room for more. It's got a stable climate, or at least she would if we weren't cooking ourselves with CO2. The magnetic shielding and plate tectonics keep the planet habitable, cycling nutrients and carbon. Sucks that humans treat her like a Walmart on Black Friday. Really can't go anywhere else. Despite all the godforsaken clickbait you might have seen, Earth 2.0 isn't real, and there definitely isn't a place better than Earth. But of course, that's not going to stop the con man from running the channel from misleading you for their own gain. Despite what we've done, Terra's land is arguably the most beautiful in the solar system, and it holds its own charm, unless you're in a, less than idyllic shithole. A day here lasts 23 hours and 56 minutes, contrary to the lies big clocks have spoon-fed you from a young age, and a year averages 356.25 Earth days, though it's not quite that simple. Leap years adjust for this, but they're not always consistent. 1900 skipped one, 2000 didn't, and 2100 will skip a leap year once again. Earth also stands out by emitting radio signals, a technosignature of our technology, unique among planets if you don't count the spacecraft we've littered throughout the solar system, though that is practically irrelevant. Oh, and she has one of the coolest moons, too. You've probably never seen it to scale, so here it is. To any aliens watching, though, while all of this sounds really cool and all, the surface of this planet might be one of the worst in the solar system because of the aforementioned pests that live here.
I've just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! Do you know what I mean? Birmingham is a fucking shithole! I hate the fucking place! I fucking hate it! It's full of dickheads! I fucking hate it!
Oh no! Did someone not make it to the toilet? Is someone a poo-poo stinky baby? Did you poo-poo stinky all over the floor?
Alright, motherfucker, so a couple weeks ago I shot the fucking dog that lives across the way. Little barking ass motherfucker was on top of the goddamn balcony. He wouldn't shut the fuck up. You feel me?
You wanna be racist? I could be way more racist toward your people. You wanna talk shit about Asians? What the fuck do you have on Asia, huh?
I have nothing on it.
You have nothing, because you're a cans cuck bitch, and now you're gonna submit to your Asian masters.
Seriously reconsider your choices before venturing here. Her weapon of choice is probably pepper spray. Mars, aka the Red Planet, is a bit jaded, but really cool. Hands down one of the chillest in the solar system, but can be bold and aggressive when needed. He's about half Earth's diameter at 6,779 kilometers, and just 11% of the Earth's mass, though gravity sits at a comfortable 0.38 g, meaning that you could bounce around and carry heavy crap easily. With a tilt similar to Earth's of 25.2 degrees, Mars gets seasons just like ours, with each season being nearly twice as long. A Martian day, called a sol, is almost Earth-like at 24.6 hours, so no adjusting your internal clock. Huge W. Mars is built solid. Core, mantle, crust, just like Earth, though by comparison not as much is going on. His iron sulfur core is molten but chilly, sadly lacking a global magnetic field, just some crustal magnetic leftovers. The mantle is mostly cooled solid rock, while the crust is really thick, around 20 to 50 kilometers on average, reaching 100 kilometers under Tharsis, which I'm again probably mispronouncing. Mars's iconic rusty red color comes from iron oxides, basically planetary rust. Mars's dust has extremely toxic chlorates, but hey, no planet is perfect. Mars's atmosphere is really special, just like Venus, but in a very different way. It's very thin, due to the loss of his magnetic field causing the sun to strip most of it away. Only about 0.6% of the Earth's pressure, mostly carbon dioxide, with hints of nitrogen, argon, and oxygen. Because of this, you'd have a very different type of death to Venus. Lungs and sinuses would rupture if you tried to hold your breath. Gas bubbles inside you would expand rapidly. Like Venus, you'd suffocate from the lack of oxygen. But that would thankfully cause you to black out around 10 to 15 seconds in. Saliva, tears, and fluids on your face. And worst of all, your blood would start boiling away because of something called, and if I'm pronouncing this right, eubalism. You wouldn't freeze instantly, but get seriously chilly fast, with temperatures swinging wildly, a cozy 20 degrees Celsius during the daytime at the equator, plunging to negative 90 degrees Celsius at night. As you would expect from a desert, the winter at the poles hits a brutal negative 130 degrees, cold enough for CO2 ice to freeze out. Aforementioned lack of a magnetic field causes UV and cosmic rays to roast your skin, frying your DNA before you're even fully dead. After 1 or 2 minutes, you can finally get the sweet release of death. Your corpse might find itself in one of the dust storms if you weren't already in one. While the dust storms on Earth are pretty bad, the ones on Mars are ultra-terra bad. Sometimes massive, near planet-wide events that can block out the entire surface for weeks. When there aren't dust storms, you'd see something unequivocally beautiful: rugged deserts, towering volcanoes, dramatic valleys, and vast open landscapes. Above you, you'd see the sky as a butterscotch orange during the daytime from dust, and would be a pinkish-bluish around sunset. The sun is about 66% of the apparent diameter as seen from Earth, due to Mars being farther out. On a clear day, especially at high elevations, the sky could be a yellowish tan with the sun a sharp disk. At night, the sky is black and filled with stars as clear as the deserts on Earth. He has 2 moons, likely captured asteroids, Phobos and Deimos, not that influential on the planet due to their small sizes, but cool accessories. Phobos is actually falling into Mars, and despite what you would think for a captured asteroid, Mars's gravity will tear him apart into a ring system. Estimates for when this will happen swing wildly in timescales, and finding the best source for a time frame was difficult to determine. When making a chart showing them to scale, you basically can't even really see them. If you are interested in it though, Kurzgesagt has a video on both of the moons if you want to find out more. Elon Musk, effectively the current president of the United States, is eyeing Mars as our first planetary crib away from Terra. While I feel the moon is a far better target for many, many reasons, I understand the appeal for some. Let's hope the long-term effects on colonists aren't really a problem. His weapon of choice is probably a Colt single action. I'll spare you the details and just display the Wikipedia page as I will do for the other firearms on this list. Mars actually sounds quite interesting, and we have recordings from the surface. And what's even cooler is that the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratories YouTube channel has a 360-degree video you can watch of it. Alright, so taking a look at the YouTube video on NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, it wants you to use headphones for the most immersive experience. This is the title. Being able to use your mouse, you can actually look around and you can see the cardinal directions, north, east, south, west, as well as some, notable landmarks and stuff like this. You can see the helicopter that came attached to the mission and the tracks of the actual rover itself. It's absolutely stunning, and if it wasn't for the severe health consequences, I would love to visit here one day. It has such a mesmerizing sound that's kind of like white noise and this beautiful terrain. You should go check out the video yourself and see what it's like. Hey everyone, I just want to say, if you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to support this very small YouTube channel by giving this video a like. And make sure you subscribe and ring the bell too. And if you want to boost me in the algorithm even further and spread my mission of education and entertainment to everyone, make sure you leave a comment. If you don't know what to say, just type commenting for support, and make sure you share the video too. That's absolutely awesome, guys. Thanks for supporting a small channel. And if you really want to go the extra mile, and only if you can afford it, make sure to, go to my Buy Me Coffee and just leave me stuff. But no pressure, of course. Entering the second chapter, we find the gas giants. Jupiter and Saturn are colossal planets, primarily composed of hydrogen and helium. They have no solid surface in their traditional sense. As one descends through their atmosphere, the gases gradually transition into a liquid and exotic fluid states under immense pressure, with a kind of a core. These planets feature powerful weather systems, many moons, and ring systems. Past the gas giants, we find the ice giants, Uranus and Neptune, similar but still a distinctly different class of planets. Jupiter is the Mr. Beast of the solar system. I feel like he lacks a lot of personality, with most of the interesting bits being due to his size, dwarfing every other planet's. The equatorial diameter is 100,042,984 kilometers, 11.2 times that of Earth's. Jupiter rotates super fast, with a short day just short of 10 hours long. His massive gravity at the cloud tops reaches 2.53 G. Stand there if you could, you'd feel violently pulled down. A 70-kilogram person would feel like 177 kilograms. I imagine it like that falling feeling that happens when you're trying to fall asleep, though I know that is very far off. He orbits every 11.86 Earth years, and tragically has virtually no seasons, with a tilt of only 3.13 degrees, the second lowest in the system. His gravity greatly influenced the solar system's formation, and possibly Earth's water delivery that gave her the distinctive biosphere. Inside, you'll find, gas under insane pressures. This forms metallic hydrogen, acting kind of like a liquidish metal type of thing, powering his intense magnetic field, up to 14 times Earth's strength. Beneath lies a rocky or icy core, 5 to 15 Earth masses, probably diluted or fizzling due to the mixing. Atmospherically, he is iconic for many reasons. Stunning banded clouds of ammonium ice, ammonium hydrosulfide, and deeper water vapor. The legendary Great Red Spot, a storm exceeding Earth nearly 3 times over, raging for at least 150 years, likely much longer. Lightning bolts far more powerful than Earth illuminate the deep water cloud layers brightly. His auroras, caused by his powerful magnetic field, and the volcanic material from one of his moons, outshine anything Earth has to offer. He's a mini solar system in and of itself, with 95 moons, including the famous Galilean moons, some of my favorites in the solar system. Io, the most volcanically active body in our solar system. Europa, an impossible subsurface ocean being a promising harbor for life. Ganymede in his own magnetic field. Callisto in her ancient surface. It's hard to pick a favorite, but if I had to pick one, I'd have to give it to Europa, and look forward to seeing what we find on her when the Europa Clipper mission comes, arriving in 2030. Jupiter's faint rings, which were discovered in 1979, which I feel that's quite shockingly not too long ago, come from dust blasted off tiny moons and meteoroids. His weapon of choice would be, of course, an M134 minigun. Saturn is the drama king of our neighborhood, second largest planet, renowned for his flawless, breathtaking ring system. This aesthetic-driven gas giant is slightly smaller than Jupiter, but effortlessly outshines him with unmatched elegance. Saturn's rings shift from open-edge on views depending on the season, always keeping things fresh with his style impeccable. Saturn's diameter is impressive, at 120,556 kilometers, sure not as massive as Jupiter, but size isn't everything when you've got style. The diameter is about 9.46 times Earth's. A Saturn day is short, just like Jupiter's, at 10 hours and 33 minutes, as opposed to Jupiter, who is just short of 10. Where it starts getting really interesting is the density, only 0.687 grams per centimeter cubed, so he'd float if tossed in water, though that much water around him would probably be disastrous for the stability of the solar system. Saturn takes a leisurely 29.4 Earth years to orbit the Sun. Well, you might think that that might be nearing the longest years of all the planets in the solar system, over 2 times as long as Jupiter. His year is far from the shortest we'll see in this video. His tilt of 26.73 degrees ensures that he has seasons much like that on Earth, each lasting about 7.4 years. Plenty of time for him to show off each season. At the equinox, the rings nearly vanish, only to return dramatically at solstice, perfectly aligned to catch the sunlight, because Saturn knows timing is everything in fashion. Deep down, Saturn sports an iron rock core, 20 times the mass of Earth, surrounded by yet again metallic hydrogen. If metallic hydrogen has lost its glamour, you might be interested to find out that helium reigns inside of him. His magnetic field, though weaker than Jupiter's, still packs a punch, with an almost perfect alignment with the rotational axis, defying conventional planetary dynamo theory. Saturn's upper clouds are made of ammonia crystals and create a delicate golden yellow hues, always sophisticated and refined. Less contrary to the bands of Jupiter means that Saturn leans towards subtlety and grace. Planet-wide thunderstorms known as great white spots are erupting nearly every 30 Earth years. Equatorial winds are fierce too. My second favorite feature is the bizarre, perfect hexagon cloud pattern at his north pole. The hexagon is a persistent jet stream discovered by Voyager and studied by Cassini. Its rotation period is tied to Saturn's internal rotation. Saturn doesn't settle for NPC weather patterns. He opts for geometrically precise storms, and damn is it cool as shit. Saturn's iconic rings are my favorite feature, and they probably are for yours as well too. Whenever I see them, they drop something. My jaw. The rings are made mostly of pristine water ice particles, ranging from microscopic dust to house-sized chunks. The main rings, A, B, and C, extend spectacularly. The rings themselves are quite thin, averaging 10 meters thick. That's about 5.18 Elliots. Because I haven't touched grass in a very, very long time, and will never get laid, here's an Excel sheet comparing the average thickness of the rings to the average height of both men and women in various countries. If you're so inclined, you can use the PISS formula. This math formula didn't exist until this video came out, because I hate myself. Using the PISS formula, you can calculate how many of you would fit within the thickness of Saturn's rings with the instructions given on your screen, your Cheeto dust covered screen. Pause if needed. The rings are relatively young by astronomy standards, just 100 to 200 million years old, continuously replenished by moon collisions, meteorite impacts. Tragically, the beauty won't last forever. Saturn's sexy rings won't last, slowly losing mass through particles falling into him, make it just a fleeting moment of perfection. Saturn's got an insane amount of moons, 247 confirmed moons, the most of any planet in the solar system, 62 of them being unknown until 2023, and this year, 128 more were added to the party. This completes his image, trumping even Jupiter in terms of being his own solar system. Titan is my favorite moon in the entire solar system, and another place I had a dream in. He is equipped with a thick atmospheric haze and a liquid methane lakes, and a possible new type of life form that could exist with interesting chemistry, giving him an alien but yet strangely familiar vibe. Just know that there's a lot more to him, and these facts alone are not nearly enough to get the full grasp of how awesome Titan is. But even with just this, that's enough to crown him the best moon in the solar system. Enceladus is my second favorite in the Saturnian system, and a potential harbor for life, shooting out geysers of water into space like Diet Coke and Mentos. Saturn would be one of the most stunning places to have a truly tragic death. The process of dying is very similar to that on Jupiter, though it would take much longer for you to painfully perish. You'd likely die before even falling in. Even if you were wearing a spacesuit to survive the vacuum of space, entering through the rings would tear you apart, as the ring's rotational speed is up to 23.6 kilometers per second, not per hour, but per second. Due to something in physics called classical mechanics, the particles that compose the rings would rip your spacesuit and you apart instantly, exposing you to the unforgiving vacuum of space, or at least exposing your corpse to it, which is, in a bunch of tiny pieces. Saturn truly reigns as the drama king, effortlessly stylish, consisting and striving for perfection, and always ready for his close-up. His weapon of choice would probably be an Arctic warfare. Our third and sadly final chapter that I'm able to fit into this video, the two outermost planets, Uranus and Neptune, known as ice giants to distinguish them from Jupiter and Saturn, they have higher portions of ices, water, ammonia, and methane in their interiors. Uranus is the solar system's underdog, rolling around the solar system on his side, and honestly just here for the paycheck. Still, I like his quirky and awkward style, and definitely the most underrated. He might get roasted for being the oddball planet, containing the word anus in it depending on the two valid pronunciations, your anus or Uranus, both of which sound like a proctologist's wet dream. The base stats aren't all that interesting to me. It gets better the deeper you go. Uranus has a diameter of about 51,118 kilometers, or about 4 times that of Earth, and they're mostly fluids like water, methane, and ammonia. The gravity at the cloud tops is a comfy 0.89 g, so he's not even trying to pull you down that hard, a planet who's too busy getting on with all of his moons to care about your size. His defining trait is the comically extreme axial tilt of 97.8 degrees, especially spinning on his side. Because of that tilt, the 84 Earth-year-long year, Saturn throws 42-year-long sunlit fun and 42-year-long shadowy snoozes. Each pole gets its own time to shine, then naps in the dark for decades. I guess you can say Uranus is a planet that knows how to pull through a long season, am I right, fellas?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Scientists suspect that Uranus got knocked sideways by an Earth-sized planet, fully embracing the chaos. Oh, and there could be liquid diamonds and diamond oceans under there with diamond icebergs, but rotates in retrograde like Venus, despite being way more chill about it. I think he just forgot how to spin. Inside Uranus, you'll probably find a tiny rocky core with huge icy mantle of water, ammonia, and methane, basically a massive cold slushy, perfect for washing down the shame of being the butt of every astronomer's joke. His magnetic field is hilariously off-center, tilted 58 degrees from the rotation axis, and significantly offset, probably generated somewhere in the slushy mantle. As Uranus tumbles through sideways through the solar system, his magnetic field corkscrews awkwardly through space, twisting solar wind. It's messy, confusing, and perfect for a planet that doesn't give a shit about appearances. Uranus barely emits any excess heat, just about balancing out what he absorbs from the sun. Minimal effort, maximum relaxation, the I'll do it tomorrow energy I wish I had while making this video. Uranus has a set of thin, dark rings, 13 narrow ones discovered back in 1977. They're nowhere near as flashy as Saturn's, made out of dark radiation-charred ice. These rings might be shattered moons or debris held by tiny shepherd moons. They're barely visible at the edge of the equinox, which suits Uranus just fine. Low-key, minimal attention. Think of them as the goth kids' friendship bracelets. Dark, underslated, and no one asked for them. Orbiting around him, you'll find 27 moons. Major ones like Merida, Ariel, Umbrail, Titina, and Orbion. Sorry for my pronunciations. English is a god-awful language. Honestly, who created this stupid language? Have unique icy surfaces with ancient geology features, hinting at past excitement. Miranda has a cliff called Venera Rupees, again sorry for my pronunciation, that's up to 20 kilometers high by some estimates, falling off harder than Kanye West. These moons orbit sideways like Uranus, spending decades alternating between the sunlight and darkness just like their parent planet. Of all the ways to die in the solar system, the most interesting has to be what happens when you penetrate Uranus. upon penetrating Uranus's atmosphere, you'd instantly face freezing temperatures of around negative 224 degrees, colder than anywhere else in the solar system, with the universal suffocation, while hydrogen sulfide, the stuff responsible for making eggs smell rotten, can be found there. You wouldn't live long enough to smell it. As you fell deeper, the intense storms and winds over 900 kilometers an hour would violently tear you apart. If that didn't tear you apart, the diamond rain that could exist there would cut you up like a wood chipper. If somehow intact, your body would quickly succumb to the crushing atmospheric pressures that would liquefy your tissues. Eventually, you'd reach the layers of superheated fluids and exotic substances like liquid methane and ammonia, dissolving your remains for good. But hey, at least your ugly ass got to penetrate something for once. In short, Uranus needs more respect. I'm really hoping another probe gets sent out to him, because it's only happened once, and what we found was already sick. He's perfectly content with his oddball status and quirky characteristics, a planet that says, yeah, I'm a mess, but I'm your mess, and honestly, we should stan. His weapon of choice is probably his vape. Neptune is the solar system's ice-cold MC, decked out in deep azure, swaggering with storms, spinning some mad bars in his icy crib way out in the celestial suburbs. He might be chill, but don't mistake him for lazy. Unlike Uranus, he emits over twice the energy he absorbs from the sun. Proving that he's got internal heat for days, far more than any other planet this side of Pluto. His base stats are a lot like Uranus. Neptune's got a diameter of about 49,244 kilometers, 3.9 times Earth's, and rocks a mass of 17.1 Earth masses. He's, unlike Saturn, dense for a gas planet, at 1.64 grams per centimeter cubed, heavy on the ice game, water, methane, and ammonia ice, and not a fluffy gas giant like his big bros Jupiter and Saturn. Gravity at his cloud tops is a comfy 1.14 Gs, just enough to flex without breaking a sweat. Neptune rolls with a smooth axial tilt of 28.3 degrees, like Earth's, but he's the most patient planet in the solar system. Each of his seasons lasts roughly 41 years, for a total length of about 165 Earth years. Remember when I was talking about Saturn? Yeah, time moves slow when you're kicking ass and taking names. Neptune's magnetic field is tilted about 47 degrees off-center, offset dramatically from the planet's core. Like Uranus, he never keeps it straight forward, but not in the same degree as Uranus. His twisted magnetosphere generates a faint but exotic auroras, adding subtle highlights to his laid-back loadout. Under his blue drip, like Uranus, Neptune keeps it frosty with a rocky core surrounded by a thick mantle of icy materials. His outer shell is mostly comprised of hydrogen and helium. This icy swagger is what gives Neptune the iconic color. Winds heading up to 2,400 kilometers per hour, the fastest in the solar system, his iconic dark spot, though temporary, made an appearance to remind everyone who's on top. Even with those temperatures at negative 210 degrees at the cloud tops, he packs heat, thriving more on internal heat to stay warmer than Uranus, even though he's farther out from the sun, barely seeing any sunlight, because the real swagger radiates from within. What kind of line was that? I need to be put down, my god. Neptune's got rings. They might not be as flashy as Saturn's, but they're exclusive, thin, faint, dark accessories with 5 unique arcs. They're like limited edition merchandise. Neptune keeps his jewelry low-key, less about the bling, more about the exclusivity. With 14 moons, Neptune's inner circle is small but elite. Triton is the real standout, a captured dwarf planet from the Kuiper Belt, and one of my favorite moons in the solar system, and a possible harbor for life. Orbiting retrograde, and does not give a fuck like Venus. Triton's icy geysers spew out nitrogen dust fumes, proving he still keeps the energy hype. Again, I need to be put down for this video. Oh my god. Neptune was discovered in 1846. He emerged to the planetary lineup late, instantly becoming the most exclusive planet ever found mathematically rather than visually first. Visiting, your death would be nearly the same as Uranus, in the same way that dying inside Saturn is to Jupiter. But let's be generous, fall in with a spaceship to protect us this time. Alright, let me just set up the controller.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
As your spaceship enters Neptune's upper atmosphere, you'd encounter those low temperatures, instantly frosting the windows and external equipment. Thankfully, our spaceship is simply built different, so that's not much of an issue for us. Neptune might rain diamonds like Uranus. Just know that that's the least of your worries. Initially, you'd see beautiful blue swirling clouds illuminated by faint sunlight filtering through the methane haze. Soon you'd enter Neptune's violent storm layers, with the aforementioned winds of 2,400 kilometers per hour, some real Top Gun type shit. The hull would groan under the immense pressure from the turbulence. Still, the pressure would become astronomically high, hundreds of times Earth's atmospheric pressure, gradually deforming and crushing your spacecraft's reinforced structure. Eventually, critical systems would fail, your hull would collapse inward, and the crushing pressure would swiftly implode your ship. How swiftly? The Titan sub, for example, imploded faster than the blink of an eye, and this would be very much the same. It would instantly vaporize or liquefy everything inside, including you. Really not much better off having a ship at all in the end. Neptune isn't in the solar system strictly for the checks. Effortlessly cool, icy blue stylish, and running the game from the distant chill of deep space. His weapon of choice is probably the Desert Eagle. From Mercury's soy boy status to Neptune's icy swagger, we've covered it all. Spectacular, strange, and terrifying, the dysfunctional family of our solar system.
If you somehow managed to enjoy this, remember to commit aggravated assault on the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss another chaotic video from the depths of hell. Say anything in the comments below like your life depends on it, because it does. And hey, sharing is caring, so send this video to your friends, your enemies, or really anyone with a pulse.